So how is Bali in 2026? Guys, I've been coming to this island since pretty much 2017, every single year. It keeps changing like crazy. Construction everywhere. Some neighborhoods, you barely can recognize them. And for the first time ever, in close to 10 years of living around the world, I got my things stolen. Pretty much $1,000 worth of damage on a nice morning. I'll tell you that story as well. That has been 2 months in Bali so far. A lot of people come here for vacation, but a lot of people also consider to spend more time here, maybe even spend a part of the year here. So I want to share with you kind of my honest thoughts about the different neighborhoods and my experience of the past 2 months. Right now we are in Uluwatu, some of the nicest nature, beaches, cliff sides. Good. How are you? Let's sit outside. It's a Monday, so it's a little bit quieter than it usually is around this neighborhood. And you see, the thing about Uluwatu is, when I remember in 2018, it was kind of like one of those places. It has a couple of resorts. Actually, last time I was here, I stayed at one, Melasti Beach. Absolutely amazing. The nature in Uluwatu is just unbeatable in terms of Bali. But Uluwatu always was kind of like a quiet little village. A couple of shops, a couple of nice cafes. Every year something was opening up. And for the first time, I feel like since I haven't been here for 2 years, almost 1.5, it really feels like it's slowly coming together. Like you have a lot of shops, you basically almost can walk. Like being able to walk in Bali is absolutely a thing that is, let's say like that, it's challenging. Most places don't have boardwalks. In Uluwatu a bit more than in other areas. And the best thing about here is it's, yep, thank you very much. Running through this video because my goal is really to show you a couple of different neighborhoods, how they feel right now, how they develop. And surprisingly, I've never wanted to really live or stay in Uluwatu because I felt like it was a bit too small, a bit too cozy almost in a way. And for the first time, it feels like maybe the most livable area. It's not as touristy. There's a big expat community here, and overall the average age and perhaps also the income level is a little bit higher than in an area like Canggu that has a lot of much more young people. So here it's kind of like mid-20s, late 20s, 30s, and it's obviously big for surfing. So let's say it like that. For me personally, Uluwatu became one of those places where I would even like think to myself, like, hey, could I live longer here? This is for the first time that I'm walking down this street. And honestly, yeah, the traffic everywhere. Even right now is like really quiet, I would say, on a Monday. So for me, I do have to say, from the energy, from the crowd, this is probably my favorite area at the moment. The roads feel comfy if you're on a scooter. Nice and breezy, but walking, I'm not gonna be sugarcoating it for you. The reality is that I'm gonna be hit by scooters. Look, I told you in the beginning, something got stolen while I was in Bali. And actually I wanted to do a little shot with I wanted to tell you the fact Uluwatu is growing like crazy. Probably the most growing neighborhood, at least it feels like it after I've been for 2 months here. And with that, every third, fourth shop is a construction basically. Lots of big condo developments, villas, but also small business, cafes, restaurants. And with that, what you do get is kind of like these random, something that gets torn down, something new built next to it. But honestly, when you're kind of like on the ground, if you don't pay attention to it, you don't really feel it if you don't zoom in on it. And you know, yes, when you think of Bali, it's one of those places everybody comes to live remotely, island life. They whip out their laptop and they start doing something, and somehow these people make money. And you think to yourself, what are they doing? And could I maybe do it myself? One of the more common ways you maybe have heard of is drop shipping. I actually know quite a couple of people who have done it successfully over the years, but also many that just get stuck building a store for weeks and months. And the thing is, drop shipping is changing, and like in so many different ways, AI is changing the game. And come on, yeah, I know, AI can do a lot for you, and it can even build drop shipping, Shopify, or TikTok shop through Zendrop, today's video sponsor. So I looked into Zendrop. Let me show it to you right now. So the AI store builder inside of Zendrop literally builds the whole store for you from the ground. You pick your niche. You can also go to need inspiration, boom, let's say clothing. It loads the theme, it imports winning products ready for you to sell. So if you're sitting anywhere, in a cafe in Bali, on a layover in the airport in Dubai, in some random kitchen, or on your sofa back at home, you can literally launch a store in a few minutes. And in under 5 minutes, you've got a full Shopify store ready to go. And like I mentioned, the really cool thing is you can manage the whole thing just by chatting with AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude through the Zendrop MCP server. And then even on the content side for your products, you can generate product ads with AI avatars, so you don't need to even film anything yourself. So look, if you ever thought about building something online, or maybe you even tried drop shipping before, but you just thought it's a little bit too complicated, it takes too much time, with tools like Zendrop, this is basically what has changed. The barrier to enter is a lot lower than people realize. So look, I'll put it for you as the first link in the description. Check out Zendrop. You can get a free trial only through that link right there, or maybe I'll link it somewhere here as well. And I would say, let's dive a real nice and deep into Bali. And so, I would say, let me give you a quick idea of where we're staying right now. Coming. Okay, and we're back in the casa. We're actually packing up. It has been a good week. This condo, I guess you could say, or whatever, like big studio, it's around $80 a night. Considering what you usually can get in Bali, that is just a reality. It's not that cheap anymore, but it was a nice spot. It's a little bit loud sometimes. We're a bit close to the road. Like around 1.2 million rupiah per day. I think if I pay them directly, otherwise they ask for even more, but it's a vibe. You have a nice pool, you have such a nice view, big TV, sofa, a little bit of this aesthetic furniture with the table and a fully equipped kitchen. This was the vibe here. And so we're kicking off the morning at one of my favorite spots of all time. Also changed quite a lot. It's probably for the better. This is the cliffside. I think it's called Karang Boma. And this spot is definitely a bit tricky. You got to be very careful here. Unfortunately, some things in the past have happened, but that is why I still absolutely love Uluwatu. It's very quiet down here. That's what I like. Yeah, don't stand too close to the cliffside. Never do that. No foot. Want to lick the foot of it? Go ahead. Little bite. So here we are. The wild west of Bali. We are in Canggu. You see, guys, this neighborhood, the best way to describe it, it's kind of like, this used to be mostly a small surfer village. We're speaking rice field, we're speaking good waves. Here it was the beginning of major construction. And every year when I was coming back, Canggu was getting bigger and bigger. There's this crazy road I'm gonna take you to that back in the day scooters used to fall left and right all the time. And now it looks like a freaking Times Square of Bali. It's crazy. And with that, there's a lot of positive and negative. So let me take you on a little drive through this neighborhood, maybe gonna get some breakfast. And in many ways, I have a bit of a, I don't know, maybe you could say hate-love with this neighborhood. A lot of people that spend time in Bali, after a while, they get tired of it and they move to the quieter areas. But especially people visiting for the first time, it's kind of like the hot spot. It has the best cafes, the best gym, best kind of different shops, clothing, anything. But at the same time, it's not necessarily fully kind of like tourist catered. It's a little mix. Things that I also notice happening here is that more and more kind of like party life is coming here. It used to be a little bit more in the old school district, like Kuta or Seminyak, when all like big beach kind of resorts and beach clubs. And a lot of that is migrating to Canggu, or actually fully is here now. And with that, you do have to say, we're going to talk about it. There is big negatives with it, but also I have to say, when I was here, I was positively surprised that some of the things that were really pissing me off are getting much better. And it's kind of like, if you want to if a neighborhood changes, maybe you change it all the way. Let's talk about it, the pros and cons of Canggu. And so this might even sound a little bit silly, but one of the best things that happened to this neighborhood is that they finally properly paved most of the roads. You see, back in the day, there was pretty much no way to walk on this side of the road. Like, you have these small pathways now, the roads have been widened, because the reality is this neighborhood was never made for the amount of people that pass through. And look, right now it's still a little bit early. We're in a bit of a side street, so it's not as crazy, but the traffic in this neighborhood still to this day is probably one of the biggest problems. But at the same time, still, you know, you have a couple of these roads with just rice fields, and I have to say the new businesses that are popping up are looking pretty good. There's a lot of private investment, so people like really want to do special places, and the competition is high. Here we are on one of the, probably the main road of Canggu, and this is where the crazy traffic begins also. So you see here, obviously not that much has been changing, still the old roads, but it's quite cozy, you can walk on it. And overall, this is half an hour walk to the beach, let's say like that. 3-minute drive. Guys, when I saw this for the first time, I couldn't freaking believe it. We are pretty much in the town center of Canggu. Last time this was the spot when I was complaining about how many freaking constructions are everywhere, how it's loud, how it's dirty. And this is what they put in place of it now. There's a freaking Starbucks in the corner. Don't know how I feel about that. It does look kind of clean, kind of nice. I hope McDonald's is not next, because this is kind of where I would draw the conclusion of Canggu was a neighborhood that was just booming. And I think at some point, even the local government didn't quite expect it to be that way. And what happened at this point is, even on the main square, they put up one of their epic statues, like proper island of gods, Bali. They have these statues in most of the main districts, but Canggu back in the day had nothing, no government building, no immigration center, no nothing. And literally while I was here a couple of days ago, there was a road closure because they have been putting up this epic statue. And, well, they have a Starbucks here now. Nice brand new Starbucks. I guess why not, but personally, I hope no McDonald's, but we'll see. So this used to be the most undeveloped road in all of Canggu, the infamous shortcut. Let me tell you the tale. Let the old men speak. So these kind of places is also something sort of new in a way. Didn't used to have as many of them. Ketut?
Ketut,
Good to meet you, Danny.
Bali.
Ketut.
Yeah.
Are you my spirit? Do you know the movie Eat, Pray, Love?
I don't know.
Julia Roberts.
I don't know.
No? It's okay. There was a guy named Ketut.
Ketut.
Yes, but common name in Bali, right?
Right.
Was Canggu very different after every year?
Yeah. So many wheels.
So much.
Yeah.
Remember Shortcut back in the day? That was good. 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
People fall in rice field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Oh,
Here we go.
that's me. Bye, bro. So in case you've never been to Canggu or Bali in the last couple of years, if you have been, you know, the super busy roads in the evening, it kind of looks a little bit like Times Square, Shibuya crossing, like it lights up a lot. You see, back in the day, this used to be the road where pretty much every other hour somebody falls into the rice field. It was very narrow, it had tons of potholes. There was a time when they closed it for big cars, I remember that very well. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they decided to completely develop it. They put up tons of different signs. This one is amazing. Size does matter when you're choosing a villa. Either way. So you see, this used to be the most hated road. When you know you have to drive through this intersection, you're like, oh, god damn it. I need 20, 30 minutes on anything extra I'm gonna be doing. And now it's just like full, oh, my phone. I was a bit scared. Because this road in many ways, I think that's a good solution. They made it like 3 times broader. put up tons of different shops up here. And I mean, why not? It's not necessarily the most pleasant spot I will be catching a coffee at, but if you're like driving through and you're craving pizza for tonight here at Dodo Pizza, you can get the fix. Let me maybe show you a bit more of Canggu. You know, it has three, I would say, sides to it. The most developed one, which I'm not gonna drive to right now, it looks pretty similar. Then there is kind of like the part where a lot is happening. That's where the big condos are coming up. The road I mostly took you through right now. Hello. Yeah. The scale of development. This behind me is definitely one of the biggest condo buildings in all of Canggu that is about to be finalized. And actually it's developed by a friend of mine. Seeing it in real life is actually quite crazy. This is the Anta Residence Canggu. It's kind of like a service department managed by a hotel. And this whole street actually, just 2 years ago, there was barely anything here. A couple of years ago, there was nothing. There was not even a paved road. And now it's starting to come together. You're not allowed to build very high. I think maybe this is as high as it gets, I don't know. But from just a couple of floors up, because of that, you get to see the ocean. So actually, we're like prime in the middle of Canggu, a little bit in a side road. It is quite interesting. And so here we are, Canggu Beach. To the right, to the left. You see, guys, it's kind of like one of the best parts and also drawbacks of Canggu. The fact that you have a super long beach. It's very nice to go for a walk. Often in the mornings I come out here, get like a good 10,000 steps in, get a bit of a sunburn, to be honest with you. But the thing is, the sand, the water, it's not the best. It's volcano. Like, we have a big volcano in Bali. You've maybe seen it in the beginning already. And from that, the sand in this part of the island is kind of dark, kind of like brownish, I would say is the best way to call it. Then the water it's okay. You can swim. I did it a couple of times, but mostly it's kind of like people surfing, beginner level. Got a couple of nice waves. And the best part about this beach is the sunsets. I don't know what it is, the position of the island, but I feel like some of the best sunsets you get out in Canggu. So during the day, super nice and quiet, can go for a walk. In the evening, just by far the most amazing sunset. But you do have to say, when the waves and tide is coming, a lot of trash is also flooded to the beach. They clean it up. Actually, it looks better right now than it often does at other times, but I think it's really weather dependent. But yeah, Canggu Beach, wavy day. No food. Got a little coconut on the side of the road. So good morning. From my beautiful villa on the rice fields. Oh, guys, let's talk about another thing not many people want to talk about, and that is the fact that with so much development, but also just from the fact that a lot of these areas, they just used to be small rice field farmers, villages. There's a bit of a trash problem going on. It's like right now we're next to one of the fancy gyms, we're next to the main road, maybe you can hear it. And all of a sudden, every once in a while, there is just like some abandoned or sometimes half abandoned little, I don't know what this was, some shops, some little houses. To be honest though, I feel like it has improved, first of all. And second of all, I feel like a lot of people, especially coming from like more Western countries, Europe, whatever it may be, it's like, have you been to the central station of like a major European city? In some ways it looks worse, to be honest with you. This is like some technical infrastructure, just trash disposal basically. Personally, it's not such a huge issue. I don't really pay attention to that, and I do think that over time these things are gonna get solved, hopefully. I haven't seen it become much worse. I might be off. You can let me know if you have been visiting or maybe even living here, how you see it, because I don't have a personal insight. I just have the perception. I do feel like some people are a bit nitpicky about it. They're like, oh, like Bali or Canggu is so fancy. And then like, haha, look at this, there's like some trash. It's like, oh, okay. Like for me, I see like how rapidly, especially for example, this neighborhood is developing, and taking everything into account, I hope definitely that they're gonna find a sustainable solution for it, because it does look sometimes a little bit funny. There's like a $100 plus gym next to it that I actually work out in, and right next to it, can use this as a changing room. So it's just, for me, it's important to give you a transparent perspective of, yeah, the pros and cons. But until then, it's great for some funny clips, because this place is a wreck. Oh, a lizard came crawling out of that sofa when I was setting myself up here. And so we are at one of my go-to, if not the favorite location to go for a run in the morning. We are at the rice field in Canggu, and you know that place, old man comes out. Back in my day in 2017, it was completely undeveloped. There was almost nothing here other than this little path that they have even widened. And that is also where the thing happened this year. So the thing that happened was, I parked my scooter, just like I did right now, over there. And I go for a run, for a walk. I come back to it, I see it even most of the time. I open my trunk and I realized my stuff has been stolen. For the first time in 10 years of living around the world. It has been a drone, because I wanted to fly some nice drone in the morning, and it has been a little bit over $100 of cash. I wanted to pay for the monthly rent of the scooter that day as well, because I was leaving Canggu. And yeah, it always is a bit of a violation when something gets stolen. I've luckily have not made many of those experiences. Like, I don't know, maybe sometimes you go to a laundromat, you come back and you're missing some underwear and you're like, what happened here? I don't know. Maybe they washed it, maybe they lost it, maybe they kept it as a souvenir, but that's about, I don't know, like sometimes maybe get scammed for $10, $20 somewhere, but all of that is nothing. For the first time, pretty much around $1,000 got snatched, windy day. And what can I say? From that perspective, with so much tourism and so much also short-term tourism and people not being cautious, it definitely attracts small level petty crime. And this is one of the very few times where I left something in the trunk, the highest value ever, and the one time you think you're fine, you're not. And what can you do? All you can do is take it as a lesson. And I'm not gonna let this one experience destroy this place for me, because I love coming back here. When I arrived, the grass was just starting to grow, and now it's soon harvesting season. So if we want to be a bit deep, I see it as a metaphor for this time in Bali, for me personally. So in theory, the idea was to go for sunset right now, but the weather in January is really unpredictable. So just to wrap it up a little bit about Canggu, the thing about Bali is it's a super popular destination for expats. And with that, like, some people spend here 3 months, 6 months. There was a time I was spending up to 6 months in Bali a couple of years ago. First of all, for the locals, it's always this question of there's so much development. Yes, money flows into the economy, but in some ways the neighborhood, especially down there, looks like nothing like how Bali used to look like. And for a lot of people, that is sad. For a lot of locals, for those maybe involved in business directly, they probably like it, but it's always kind of like the question of, it is definitely a good thing that like many roads where it was just like endless construction, nothing was really there, now they're kind of filling up and having a more real kind of like city and town feel to it, with many really cool and innovative businesses. But at the same time, is always the question, where's the sweet spot? And I've been actually even talking to some locals at the places I stayed, and they're like kind of like, keep it as it is, it's good as it is, we don't want more. Honestly, if they just finish the ongoing constructions and kind of like tighten everything up, make the roads a bit wider, there is some negatives. And also like the stolen stuff, it has been a couple of weeks by now. To be honest, I'm almost forgot it, but it is a bit of a violation, you know? It's kind of like that is the biggest thing. But the way I reframe it right away is that for so long, nothing like that happened. And it was silly. You learn from it. Don't keep stuff in your scooter. A thing that I never would do. And then the one time you think you're safe, the one time you think like, hey, Come on, let's not be so uptight. Nothing ever happened. Trust the people, trust the universe, and whatever. Maybe it was meant to be. Some countries I go to, they don't like to have me a drone on me, and also it's not that good to carry that much cash. So whoever took the drone and the cash, enjoy. And now let's go to Ubud. Well, let's talk about Ubud. Three main neighborhoods of Ubud, Canggu, and Uluwatu. Those are usually kind of like the areas that people like to stay at. And for the last 2 weeks, I have been in Ubud, an area that I usually don't spend much time, but you have the best rice fields. You have potentially the most peaceful areas out here, but also in some ways it's the most commercial, kind of like touristy area. Let's get into the center. Let's talk about it a bit. Let me show you around here. Uh-oh. So you see, over the years, I've always thought it's kind of like the most boring part of Bali. As of right now, on a Sunday morning, it's a little bit quieter. The thing is, Bali, especially during the holidays, is one of the most insane places. The traffic is crazy. Like literally, a drive that would take you 10 minutes right now takes 1 hour. I'm recording as of early January, and it's starting to slowly quiet down. Ubud is one of those areas that has been developed for many decades, I would say, at this point, and not that much changes. It's a quieter area for people that are anything like into spirituality, or just wearing white pants. And I'm not throwing shade on it, just in the sense of it's a generally more peaceful area. And you have one city center with amazing restaurant like this. This is the Donna right now. Just got a quick coffee. It's still early, and the city center has all the development you kind of might want to need, a little bit of clothing, you have a bookshop, you have a big grocery store. But at the same time, if you drive out, huge rice fields, nature, lots of monkeys. I'm actually right next to the monkey forest right now. And that is why I used Ubud as a base to explore a bit more of Bali in the last 2 months that I've already been here. I'm leaving soon, so I thought, hey, let me recap it for you. So if you're looking for anything quiet and peaceful, it is away from the beach. It is a different vibe, but Ubud, this time surprisingly, was kind of my favorite base inside of Bali, especially if it's for short term, if you want to be a bit more to yourself. And another amazing thing is this is the most affordable area. I'm not sure why, if it's because it's inland, if it's because there's more space, more competition, whatever it might be, but you get amazing value out here. Enjoy this place. Never been here before. Super nice. Thank you, sir. Cheeky Bali morning. You know, we are pretty much in the middle of the island, and every time I come to Bali, I'm like, this time I don't quite feel it. I want to have more of the beaches, but then I get a bit tired of the traffic. And Ubud is really famous just for the fact that it is a large area, and here it's really a place where you can find a bit of peace if you want to shut down, disconnect a little bit from the bus. And like I said, the value booked a little. In Bali, you would always call it the villa. I would say it's just a little magic witch house or elf house where the dwarves all live in. And it's not big, but it actually has 3 beds, so theoretically could host up to 6 people, and it only costs like, I don't know, $60, $70. Has an amazing full kitchen. So I stayed here for a good 3-4 days. And for me personally, I don't like to stay longer than a week here. I feel like it slows me down a bit too much. Also found a nice gym here in the area. Maybe we'll show you later. Ooh. Alright guys, let's talk a little bit about gyms in Bali. You see, the thing is, quite surprisingly, I cannot name you any place in the world that has more amazing gyms. Canggu is really the heaven of perfect gyms, but they're all in the range of like minimum $100 to like $200, $250. Personally, I've been going for a week to Elite Fit in Canggu, and that was super nice. The best thing about it is it wasn't that crowded. It was peaceful, it was quiet. It's not the biggest gym, but it has perfectly everything you might want to need. I'm in Ubud right now. Yes, this is also a gym. So this is their downstairs cafes. They have ice bath here, they have a sauna. I have to be honest with you, it's not like the hottest sauna, but it's still nice to have. Upstairs, perfect. The best thing about this gym is it's fully equipped, it's air conditioned, and it's pretty empty most of the day. Here in Ubud is not the biggest fitness hype, it's a very different energy. So this is raw gym, and they have this one in all the areas of like in Uluwatu, Canggu, and Ubud. And I signed up here thinking the other locations that I also can go to are also gonna be as good as this one. They're not. Raw gym in Canggu, not that good, honestly. Rusty, old. not very well maintained. Uluwatu is okay, but here in Ubud, if you happen to spend more time here, this is one of the slightly more affordable ones. I think it's around maybe $80 or $100 a month, so still not cheap. But that is really the thing. One of the most biggest expenses relative to other countries that I had is trying out some of the nicer gyms, and it's truly worth it. And so this right here is the perfect example of why I keep coming back to Bali. There is some places that just make you feel different. I'm just randomly driving on the road inland towards the volcano, and then all of a sudden it just pops up. There's this man doing his rice business, and I'm just walking around here. It's one of those few times in life where on the one side you're fully present, but on the other side you feel like you're connected to something. Thoughts are running. And by the way, right now is the 1st of January. Decided to start the year that way. We are approaching the mounds. Well, this is where we start the morning. I randomly saw a picture a couple of days ago. I didn't even know where it is until this morning. Figured it out at like 4 a.m., drove out, and here we are overlooking Mount Agun. If I forget to dot the location, leave in the comments down below. Nice cafe, but even cooler is you can walk down to the rice field over there. I got all scratched up, but this is what Bali is all about. It's kind of like these, you know, random, nice lookout spot cafes in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing else going here, and the ride to get here is even better than the destination. Destination is locals enjoying, a bit buzzy, people take photos, but driving here, that is where you see the real Bali. So it's really one of the many really like remote cafes in Ubud. Super nice rice field view, great prices.
Enjoy, please.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's the aesthetic of nature. It's so amazing. This is what I feel like. I only knew this Tagelegang rice fields, the famous ones in Ubud. Also, of course, many random ones, like smaller ones. But this one is just another level. It doesn't have this crazy aesthetic of like different levels. Level 8, whatever. You get the idea. This has been Ubud. You have coconut?
Coconut.
Coconut? Okay. How much for the cats? That's okay, I'll pay. I'll buy. I take both cats. Yes.
Kamalan joget.
A little bit. You can show me what you can do. Look at that. The man is going all out.
Ketut nara.
Pak ketut nara.
Nara.
Pak-
Bali asli.
Pak ketut nara.
Dari
Dari
Bali.
Bali.
Asli.
Pak ketut
Asli
nara
Bali.
dari Bali.
Asli.
Danny.
Dani.
Yes.
Good. Dani. Yes.
Or Daniil Vladislavovich Lebedev. It's the long one.
Oh yeah. you put.
Wow, we have a whole plate. A potential instant life upgrade at a lower cost. It doesn't get much cheaper than Southeast Asia. Let me give you an idea where you could be staying here. If you do Bali right, it can be a massive life upgrade in terms of your cost of living and what you get for it. Like, let me break it down. I started my morning. I wake up. I'm living pretty much a 15-minute walk away from the beach. I go for a little walk, a little run, dogs, ocean, waves. Then I come back. I have some super fresh papaya, which costs pretty much $1 for a big local papaya, local fruits. In terms of the neighborhood I'm staying right now, Canggu, for the past week, this spot here, it's $50 a night. The monthly rent maybe is a bit cheaper, but the truth is sometimes people are like, hey, I pay $500 for like my villa. Maybe if you shared with like 4 or 5 people, because that is kind of like what you're looking at. A nice small spot, 1,000, 1,500, bigger. It is not that cheap. You can stay in a guest house for maybe $500 a month, and that can do it really affordably, but it's even beyond that. It's kind of like the whole setting. Bali has so many different neighborhoods, and if you want to stay here for a couple of months, you have everything from amazing beaches, great surf spots, mountains, rice fields. That is just a huge upgrade. You're paying maybe the same money, but your life improves like that. It's a huge reason. That is why Southeast Asia is so popular. I really like it, but the downside of it is a little bit daylight is slightly limited. If it's cloudy, I feel like it's a bit too dark. We have a super nice kitchen. For me, it's kind of a luxury to have a nice kitchen where I can be cooking. Upstairs, super cozy bedroom. We have 2 bathrooms, even big TVs. Definitely not like you can live like a king on $30 a day. Depending on what kind of lifestyle you're looking for, it will cost you a certain amount, but what you get is still roundabout, I would say, double of what you get in Europe or in the US. So from that perspective, and I do like the tropical setting, but there is downsides with it. And in terms of transport, it's probably the most fun thing in Bali. It's just this little feeling of freedom, you know? The scooter is 2.1 million EDR, which is like $120, $30 a month. And what does it come down to? Daily, $4 or $5. Gasoline basically costs nothing. So yeah. We are at the Padi Social Club right now. One of the spots I wanted also to check out for a while. One of the spots that didn't exist just a few years when I was walking along my favorite rice field in Canggu. Everything is developing, and with that there is big opportunities, big pros and cons. And let's sit down. I made a bunch of notes, and I want to give you the honest perspective. There is a big opportunity for high daily pleasures, the small pleasures of walking along on the beach, of drinking the freshest coconuts, of eating the juiciest papayas, of seeing beautiful people all over. We're going to talk about that as well. And it's kind of like low friction living. But the trade-off, there is traffic, there is inefficiency. But just from the perspective of the kind of restaurants you can be going to, how your daily life can be looking like, and just purely on the surface. You take $1,000 and you bring them to Bali, your life looks nice because you can enjoy all the things that nature gave you while living a simple, beautiful life. You take $2,000 and you can live a life that starts to look pretty fancy. And anything beyond that, at some point, I would say $5,000 plus, there is a point of diminishing returns where you have a super nice big place, like in terms of like even like renting a bike, just a general cost of living. I don't want to turn this into a video about like, hey, my meal costs $5 or $10 or whatever. But you truly still get a lot of value in Bali, but you do have to mention that some places, they kind of position themselves also as a bit more expensive spots. Some also condos, and especially things like gyms can easily cost $100, $200 plus if we're talking about the really nice spots. So you have to choose what you want to invest in. This is really one of the best parts. Here, a little bit on the side of Canggu, Pererenan. Always struggle to learn these names. Much quieter, much nicer cafes. So this here, Bokashi, never been before. Super, very tasteful, but at the same time also simple, just nature-based. Pretty big restaurant. Having a double espresso, some nice little kombucha. Would record even more here, but the thing is they're playing music. So let's talk social life and networking and dating as well, of course, certainly. Look, the thing is, Bali truly has people from all over the world. And with every neighborhood, there is also a little bit of a different crowd, a little bit of a different overarching kind of like energy and certain set of interests that come together as partly geographical. If there's waves, there's more surfing. If there's more development, there might be a bit more of like a business-minded let's say, identity, a DNA to the neighborhood, if there's just more tourism, more party. All of that is a thing to choose. But just in terms of people, the huge pros are obviously that here is creatives, remote workers, entrepreneurs from all over the world. And you can meet people that either stay here multiple months, maybe even long term, or you can meet people that are passing through and then connect in other parts of the world. This is why I always loved Bali. Pretty much anytime I come back here, there's somebody that I know, or I see somebody on their stories, they're touching down, I'm like, what's up? And you can link. If you spend enough time here, Bali is one of those places that is gonna repay you for months and years to come in terms of social opportunity. Very easy access to conversations. There's all kinds of events, little circles, run clubs, social events that are happening in Bali. You just have to research and find your cup of tea that you want to indulge in. And so you see, when it comes to the downsides, really depending on where you end up staying, Bali can be pretty loud and hectic. Thing is, if you have the wrong accommodation, this background noise is pretty much what you're going to be hearing all the time. And in the last couple of years, there was so much construction, so much developing going on, which in areas like Canggu, it feels like it's slowly starting to come together. So you have to be a bit careful with that. You have to keep it in mind. If you come here, especially renting a place for 1 month, I would never do that before checking it out live. Can be risky. It's a big factor. Another one is just generally air quality in the really busy districts. If you're stuck in traffic, all the scooters, all the congestion, it's a factor to keep in mind. And in a neighborhood like Canggu, you genuinely have to plan your life around the time of the day where you want to head somewhere. Because if you're heading out at 6 p.m., you might get stuck in traffic like crazy and you're not going to enjoy it. So those are all just little things to keep in mind. For me, not a huge drawback. I literally don't drive, or I prepare, or if I feel a bit masochistic that day, because you are gonna suffer in that traffic sometimes. But yeah, we're here at the Padi Social Club, a place I wanted to check out in quite a while. Music is buzzing, and there's also this bamboo gym over there. Let's take a little look. Hello. Good, good. I just wanted to take a quick look. Is that okay? Yeah. The people are working out over here. And then we got a little, oh my goodness, that is dope. We got a pool right next to, it's kind of like a little bit of a, I would say, cross fit. Not quite, that is what it's called. Bind Bali. That's how you can find it. And we're just sitting back there basically. Let's talk about generally also opportunities of moving here. I want to keep it short. I'm not an expert on it because I have always somebody that helps me out with things like that. Here in Bali, it has been Gaia Bali Visa. They always help me out to sort out if I'm just here spontaneously for a month or two, we get a visa extension. If I come for longer, maybe 3 months, 4, 5, up to 6 months, you can be here on the, I believe it's, basically it's like a business visa. You cannot work on the ground. It's not a working permission, and if you want to be permanently here, 6 months plus, that is basically entailing becoming a real resident here. You can do that as well. That is called the Kitas. And with that, you have to move like a significant percentage of your life here. You have certain responsibilities with that. And that is something that is worth considering if you want to do that step. I'll link Gaia Bali Visa down below. They're always helping me out. Great guys. And they can answer all your questions when it comes to that. And I wrote down a couple of notes in terms of just reality checks. Coming to Bali. Like a lot of people associated with kind of like with finding yourself, you go into the jungle. And to me personally, that like, if you come to Bali knowing what you're looking for here and you're very intentional and you already come with a certain discipline and a certain clarity, this can be one of the best places in the world to be. But if you have a bit of a drifting mentality, you're easily get caught up in certain energies. That is, again, talking about the different neighborhoods. It's kind of like Canggu is really a bit of a flex. A lot of people leave Canggu because they cannot handle this energy where a bunch of people drive shirtless. What? The only way to get tan, you know? But like people are in crazy shape. People are peacocking, really. It's almost like, you know, you arrive on Bali week 1, 1 button open, 3 buttons open. Within 3 weeks, you're barely wearing a shirt. And it kind of like, in many ways, it amplifies either already who you are, and also you can easily, if you don't come here with a very formed identity and knowing what you want, You can always, like every place you spend a lot of time in affects you. But the reality is, if you're in Canggu, it really feels like people are measuring themselves here with what kind of scooter they're driving, which is pretty ridiculous. It's kind of like the whatever. The cheapest scooters cost $5, the cooler scooter costs $10, and the biggest scooters cost $15. But people are like, oh, I'm on the big scooter, and my scooter is neon colored. It's hilarious, 15 bucks a day. So it's kind of like, in a way, like this drift can easily turn into chaos. You can get really consumed by Bali and get stuck here because of the low cost of living, because of this certain comfort. So health is really accessible, physical and mental, in Bali, and it can be optimized, like in terms of all these wellness clubs and gyms and everything, but it is not guaranteed. And the burnout here comes subtle, and it maybe happened to me to a slight extent when I spent here many months, and the honeymoon truly fades, because when you first come here, you go to the nicest places, maybe you spend a bit more money than you wanted to, and then over time you start to notice like the infrastructure in many ways is not quite up to standard yet, but it's getting better. And the long game reveals everything, and in my opinion also how you personally feel about Bali. It's kind of like, it's sometimes like when you get into a relationship and you had certain expectations that just couldn't be fulfilled because you had the wrong expectations of the place and what you wanted to get from it, or this, let's say, relationship, for example, with the island. Let's say it like that. Also, there is a bit of a pass-through energy. A lot of relationships, or let's say a lot of what people complain about, is that relationships that are built here, because it's kind of like transient, people come and go, especially people that stay here long-term on the ground, they're almost like getting a bit depressed, because it's like you make a friend and then they leave and you kind of stay. And with that, I feel like you really have to consciously make up your life setup and also think about what kind of relationships you want to have. And because of the first point that we talked about, the lower cost of living, you also have to keep in mind it's kind of like a low barrier of entry. There is all kinds of people that just have a backpack on their back. They might be 19 years old, or they might be 39 years old, no judgment, and they're just coming here to have a good time, to stay in a hostel, to maybe go to nature, maybe have a random hookup, maybe party hard, or maybe hit the gym and then go back home, you know? And then there is people that are here to experience the best of the island, that maybe want to put it into their, kind of what I'm doing, into their set, into a little bit their portfolio of different locations around the world to live. And that all just comes down to like knowing the places you go to, knowing how to reach out to people, make the connections that you want to have. And Bali has plenty of opportunity to do that. You just have to be proactive when doing that. But for me personally, if I stay in a neighborhood that is kind of like closer to a beach club, which kind of happened like this time around, I really didn't enjoy the energy. Everybody goes to party, it's Saturday night. And because of this very wide range of people that you can meet, for example, Canggu right now has a very big Eastern European crowd, a lot of Russians, a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of really people from all over Europe, but it is a little bit heavy on the Slavic side right now. You have to keep that in mind. And it is also heavy on the short-term side that, like, you know, you just see some guys, I don't know if they arrive drunk already on the airplane. It's not the majority of people at all, don't get me wrong, but it is a little side factor to consider when you choose the neighborhood to spend more time in. I'm gonna, like I said, talk about the neighborhoods a little bit later on. Those are the cons. And speaking of dating, this is a thing that a lot of people wanted me to talk about, and I'm always like, I don't know if I want to use my kind of like travel and remote living channel to share these things, but the reality is, me personally, I've spent the majority of my 20s in a few long-term relationships over multiple years. I'm speaking 2, 3, pushing 4 years. Situations where I've been traveling around the world and also spending a lot of time in Bali with one person. And but I've also been a single man in Bali multiple times, when I was in my early 20s, when I was in my mid 20s, when I'm now slowly but surely pushing the good 30. And I do have to tell you that because of this wide range of different kind of people, there's also different kind of places in life that people are. Some people are here, they're just here for a couple of weeks, and you understand what kind of energy comes with that. They want to have a good time, they want to party, they want to you know, have a story to brag to their friends back home, and that goes for guys as it goes for girls. Then there's people that are maybe here longer, that are maybe looking for a serious relationship. But because oh, it starts to rain now, enjoy the ambient sound, I would say. But because of that, there is a big mismatch in priorities and kind of like desired outcomes. And as you can imagine, there's the best gyms, there's great food. It attracts a lot of beautiful people. And once you arrive here, it's kind of like almost also a bit of a group effect and a group pressure. Everybody likes to dress nice, everybody likes to work out. Damn, am I gonna get flooded here? Am I gonna get wet talking about? Bali, in many ways, is kind of like a pressure cooker of the modern world. People from all over the world come here. Everybody hops on whatever dating apps. Me personally, I feel like in Bali, it's like try as much as possible. It's my recommendation to meet people in real life. Go to social events, or it's also so much easier to just say hi to somebody, be it in a cafe, be it somewhere else. Knock up a real connection, and also potentially maybe take it slow, get to know people, build a friend circle, or don't, whatever you want to do. But the reality is there is a lot of opportunity, but a lot of people also complain about, especially the ones that stay here kind of long term. There's like literally different groups of people that are looking for very different things. But the reality is if you're doing well anywhere you're doing back home right now, you're going to be doing perfectly fine in Bali. I know plenty of people that met long-term partners, maybe even their life partners in Bali. And because it's such an international place, you're very likely can meet people from back home or from the other end of the world. And I think in terms of that, it is great, but be ready. I do have to be very honest with you. I don't know what the layout is of how many guys and girls there is on the island, but the reality is, like man and woman, that there is plenty of guys that will always be willing to invite some girls to the fanciest dinners, to invite them to their villa, blah, 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 blah. And there is a bit of an economy going on in terms of that, so don't be too disappointed. There's always some guy, like when I'm like in Ubud, he's like, yeah, this girl from Canggu broke my heart. And I'm like, brother, come here, you want a hug? And it can be a bit of a complicated place. It's kind of like modern dating on steroids to some extent. But if you want to, it is a great place, as long as, again, Bali in all aspects is a place where you have to consciously design your life, know what you're looking for, or at least be in the process of exploring that. And just from the amount of interesting people that you can meet, definitely, obviously, one of the best places in the world, but not for, let's say it like that. If you come here already a bit lost and vulnerable and prone to get your heart broken, Bali will give you the medicine that you need in terms of the hard love, let's say it like that. If you come here, you're all good, you're perfect by yourself, you want to meet all kinds of people with different intentions, or maybe even a bit, at least a little bit free of the outcome, this can be a fantastic place. I think you get the idea. It's modern dating. Bali, very modern in terms of Canggu, Uluwatu. Be ready. Be ready for the best and the worst of what this part of human life has to offer. Good luck. This is kind of my thoughts about living a couple of months, maybe even the majority of the year in Bali, if it's worth it, if I can recommend it, and I think you get the idea. There is a reason why I keep coming back to Bali. It's one of the most dynamic places I know in terms of a tropical environment that changes so quickly, where some years I visit and I'm like, I'm not sure. And this is one of the few times where I'm leaving the island and I feel like I'm very curious for where it's going to be heading. Is it going to be, at the end of the day, more of a tourist destination still, where it's more about the beaches, the party, the vacationing, and like a small side community of people that are living like in every more vacation hotspot? Or is it going to truly develop a long-term kind of, and I think it will happen too in one way or another, because it's already here. I personally don't really like the word expat, I like to say it like that. It's like people from other countries choosing to have a piece or the majority or all of their life in a different country. And Bali is a place like no other. It has some of the biggest pros, it has big cons. And yeah, you're welcome to check out Or definitely check out the previous video I've shot here, because there I take you live with me through different neighborhoods, through different weeks. You're even gonna see how I look a bit different when I arrive, so a bit puffier cheeks, a little bit pale. And then throughout 2 months, I've had a great time. Bali did his job for me. I had a little metaphor about this rice field here. I love it when I arrive and they have just planted the rice. Kind of like comes out of the ground, out of the soil, it grows, and you cannot rush that process. It takes weeks, it takes months, and then it's harvesting season, and then you repeat the process. And I've been walking this field since, I don't know, 2019 or maybe even 18. And every time I'm here, it's usually a very productive time in one way or another. I love having different locations personally around the world where I know my way around. And if it's a place that changes a little bit, that adds for me always a bit of a curiosity. And I think this is for the first time where I might be, for the first time in many years, coming back to Bali, maybe even in like a month or two again, to because if you're new here by any chance, what I generally do on this channel, I do document my life, I document my travels, but everything is under the premise of building a life of freedom around the world. So whenever I'm especially in a place like Bali, it's always about seeing the pros and cons of spending more time in this location. Of course, the financial side, what you can get for your money is always a big factor. The social factor is relevant, but it's always when I'm in places like I'm slowly pushing my 30 and I am really thinking, where do I want to spend at least maybe half or a third of my years continuously going forward? And this is where I have been looking at some real estate in Bali. This is where I have been truly observing where this place is going. And for now, I have more positive impulses and perspectives on it, but it's always a matter of perspective. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's little bit more of a sit-down video. Let me know your thoughts if you have been to Bali before, how you feel like it has been changing, how you feel about it, your personal pros and cons of visiting this place, or if you maybe even live here. I will be super curious to hear your perspective. And if you want to see where I am right now, you can join me on Instagram, because usually the videos always come out a little bit later. And yeah, with that, this is what Got a World to See stands for. More freedom, more opportunity, more adventure. This has been Bali.